All right, so finally got the correct seal for the output shaft on the Subaru. So let's go over that real quick, then we're going to show you how to install it. All right, 3 times the charm. We finally got the correct seal. Real quick in review, we ordered this seal 222745 from Rock Auto, output shaft seal. Turns out that it is most like an axle shaft output seal. Called Advanced Auto Parts here locally. They said that they had the right seal. Went and picked it up. Wrong seal. Finally found my dial calipers, measured the old seal, looked this part number up on Rock Auto, verified that it was the correct seal, and it is part number 13907, and this is for the output shaft for the drive shaft that runs the rear axle on the Subaru BRAT. 13907 is supposed to be the correct seal for that, and it's supposed to work for the 4-speed and 5-speed, but check your application before you take me as gospel. That is the best I can come up with at this point. So now let's get into installing it. Alright, so we're going to try to do this without overheating the camera. It has gotten to be summer on us quick. Alright, so get your seal out of the container, and what you're going to do is you need to find a socket that will easily fit your seal. Okay, and I actually need a socket that's a little bit smaller, but I believe I can do it with this one. It should not be a problem. Now the next thing you'll want to do is just get a little grease. Just doesn't matter, it doesn't really matter what kind, just some wheel bearing grease, and you just want to, there's a little trough down inside the seal, you can see that good, and just kind of fill that little trough up with just a little bit of grease. You don't got to go crazy. You just need some initial lubrication when it starts turning, and you want to put just a dab just to help ease the seal up into the bore. You'll want to put a little grease around it. Alright, next we'll get up under the car, and I'll show you what you need to do there. Alright, the next thing you're going to want to do, we're going to try to get in closer here just a little bit. You can look and you see this piece right here. This is a dust shield, and it is to help keep stuff off of the seal, heavy stuff, okay? But up inside here is your bore where the seal actually goes. So what you'll need to do is take a rag and just carefully make sure that there's no heavy debris up inside that bore. Just wipe it out carefully. Also, you're kind of checking to make sure that there's no burrs that could snag the seal. Try to get you positioned in a decent spot here. Make sure you get your hammer handy. You got your seal. And you get it started gently up in the bore. It's not too hard to get to, but you'll want to try to make sure that you hit evenly. And pull your socket away, make sure it's going up squarely in the bore. It looks like it is. Good and solid. May have gotten it just a little bit too much on one side. I'm going to go get my other socket that's a little bit smaller and try to even it up just a little bit. That way it's nice and even in the bore so that it'll wear correctly. Crooked in the bore like that, it has a tendency to make me want to leak. So we're going to try to square it up in the bore. Okay, we got our smaller socket. See if we can get her to square up. And there we go. We'll find out. I'm driving it all the way in the bore, and I don't know if it's supposed to be flush or all the way in the bore. So either we screwed it up and I'm gonna have to go buy another seal, or it's fixed and we're done. But I believe that it'll be fine, shoved all the way in the bore. Now, check our drive shaft spline here. Make sure there's no dirt and debris on it. Try to get her lined back up. May need to go put it in gear. There it went. Now this back in, we can put our bolts back in. Alright, one thing I want to talk about with the 4 bolts that hold the yoke in. On the nut side, there is a lock washer. That is the side that the lock washer goes on. On this side, the left side here in your screen, where the bolt goes through, there are machined flat places that one of the flats on the bolt holds up against so that you can tighten the nut. So, what I've done, you go get a heavy-duty screwdriver or a thin heavy-duty pry bar, and you give it something to pry against. Let it come up against. That way, when you go to turn and tighten, you've got something to tighten against. That way you can get the bolts tight enough. Simply pull the screwdriver out, turn it again, you can reinsert it. You can hold it like a handle, or you can let it come up against a frame member. Some of them you're actually going to have to hold like a handle, so that you can tighten your bolts. So let me do these other 3, and I'll be done with this side of the project. Alright, I'm going to show you this. On this Subaru, what you have, instead of a spill port check plug, they actually have a dipstick on their transmission so that you can check the gear oil. We need to actually get this vehicle on level ground so that we can check it, because it is on a hill and we have it at a slight angle. So this side would actually be showing that it's a little low. So anyway, it does have some in it. It's not enough to think would cause it to burn up, but we do want to make sure it's full before we run it. So while we're into the gear oil phase of this project and making sure that everything is full, my son tried to get this drain plug out, and he did not have a ratchet long enough handle to be able to check it. I have one, so I told him not to worry about it. If it didn't look like it was leaking anywhere on the differential, and it doesn't, it was running back, I told him it's probably okay. Let's see, we'll know here in a second. Nothing running out, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's low. No, it is right there toward the bottom of the hole, and the fluid is clean. You can see that it doesn't look like there's any debris in it. No water or anything like that. Here's another important little piece of information. They actually have a tag here that tells you what the gear ratio is. It's 3.9 to 1. That's pretty cool. So let's tighten this baby back up, and this differential is good to go. All right, so hopefully that takes care of this transmission oil leak in the back of the transmission, and last thing we have to do to it, of course, is check the level once we get the vehicle sitting on level. Knowing that the rear end is full of oil, that's good to know. And we got a few more things to get into, so just stick around and we'll see what we get into next. It's either going to be the axle seal boots, or we're going to be doing some more of the tidying up on the rust repair, and we may be cleaning it again. We've got one more detail we got to do to get it ready before we put it up for sale.